While DJ's tightening the nuts up, what Randy's doing is putting the lower shiv wheel on the forklift. He's putting in 4 1-inch shims, which can be 4 pieces of key stock, 4 pieces of lumber. What that does is when it's pulled up against the bottom of the spider base, it holds the lower wheel perfectly flat and level with the spider base, and when the magic grip bushing is in place, it lets it pull it up perfectly flat and level. And that way when the machine runs, there's no wobble in the lower wheel. If you don't have those 4 pieces of wood or key stock in place, and you just pull the magic grip bushing up, what'll happen is, due to the weight on the bottom of the lower wheel, it will pull up unevenly, and even though it'll tighten up, when the machine runs, you'll get a wobble in that lower wheel, and you'll take out that bottom base bearing very quickly. So it's very important that that lower wheel runs flat and very true and level. Now this bearing is a link belt bearing. There are other bearings that are comparable, but they will not work. The only bearing that is machined to fit in there is a link belt bearing. Okay, Randy will bring in the wheel now. Okay, what we're going to do now is take the magic grip bushing, which is made up of a taper lock bushing, a collar, and a snap ring. We're going to line up the keyway in the magic grip bushing and the keyway in the lower spindle, and we're going to push it in place so that we can put a cotter pin through. That cotter pin prevents anything from falling off when the sifter's in operation. Then we're going to take 3 hex head cap screws, and we're going to pull that magic grip bushing up very snug. The taper on that magic grip bushing exactly matches the taper in that lower wheel. So when you pull the 2 of them together, they lock in tightly, just like a magic grip bushing does on a motor spindle. Now to remove that, you've got 2 pusher holes in there. You would simply take out the 3 hex head cap screws, take out the cotter pin, put it into the pusher holes, maybe spray it with some WD-40. and very uniformly thread in the cap screws so that it pulls the magic grip bushing out. Should you break the collar on that magic grip bushing or not be able to get it apart, all you do is take the entire assembly, turn it upside down so that it's resting on the floor, setting on top of the lower spindle, and we'll show you that when we put it down, and you tap it with a couple of 4x4s and that'll break it right loose. Okay, we're tight now, and now we'll lower the forklift. What we're going to do now is just flip the base over. This is not normally done in a building process, but we're going to show you how you would get that wheel off if you broke the magic grip bushing. You'd simply flip it over like that, and by taking two 4x4s, if you were to tap it down right there in that position, you would drive that wheel off that magic grip bushing. It makes it very easy to come apart. Now we'll flip it right side up, and we will put the upper wheel on. Notice the offset where the weights go on the bottom. We're going to have the weights 180 degrees apart. That means that the weights on the bottom wheel are going to be exactly opposite of the weights that will be on the upper wheel. Each sifter is weighted individually depending on the number of decks. The number of decks is determines how much weight you put on that wheel. Now we're going to bolt the upper wheel in place. What we typically do is start one bolt while it's on the ground and then pick it up with a forklift. Okay, we've got one bolt in place. We want to do that for safety reasons so we don't raise that big heavy wheel off the ground. Now we'll put in the 6 bolts and we'll tighten them up, and that will complete the assembly of the lower section of the sifter. From here, what we're going to do is set the sifter on a flatly machined platform, and we'll put the X-frame on and show you how to shim the sifter. If you were rebuilding the sifter, you would not have to change the weights at all. You'd simply take it apart, change the bearings, and reassemble it as we've just done.